We're on? Okay. So I think we are live, Chris Lombard. Welcome to everybody as you are joining us tonight for a conversation with horse trainer Chris Lombard. We are so excited to have this hour with you. Chris is a really, really important part of the work that happens here at the MSSPA. We have been talking about this conversation for quite a while. He's a busy guy. We finally found a date in his calendar that would work out. So we are here to talk with him tonight. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so excited to be here, Peggy,
It's great.
and to be doing this in the arena like this and
Right.
everything, the setup you guys have and the things we're going to talk about. I'm really excited.
Excellent. We're going to have some horses behind us in a couple of minutes. First, couple of things, a little bit of housekeeping. On your screen at home, you might get an invitation to click on Pledge. A pop-up will appear and it will say open. Pledge is an app that we can use with Zoom that allows you to make a donation if you feel moved to do so. You absolutely do not have to do so, but if you'd like to donate to the MSSPA tonight, we would greatly appreciate that. We're being joined by Merlin and Murphy here in just a moment. We'll tell you more about those guys. If you do a donation on Pledge, you can fill out a custom amount. Also, it asks for a tip. You can fill out a custom tip, which can be 0. So that's up to you. Again, just wanted to let you know that that's coming. We are also recording this conversation tonight. And if you have to drop off early, or if you know somebody who wanted to see it and they couldn't join us, we will make the link available on YouTube so you can watch the whole hour at a later date. Also, we are not network news. So thanks to the unbelievably good skill of Molly McMahon, one of our staff members here, we will have some videos to roll into the show tonight, but it's a little bumpy technically, so just stick with us and hopefully you'll enjoy the ride. See what I did? Anyway, so starting off, Chris, I know that you have written an entire book, here it is right here, Land of the Horses, that talks about sort of this unbelievable journey that brought you to working with horses. So I want to ask you how that journey took place with the understanding that you filled a book with that answer and we don't have that kind of time tonight. But can you tell us briefly how you wound up working with horses?
Sure. Well, I didn't meet horses until I was around 26 years old. And so that I've always thought that allows somebody to have a unique perspective when they first meet horses, and that they're not really meeting horses when they're young and learning from somebody that's really showing them every way that they do it. And when you're young, you more really kind of learn to follow that specific way and kind of get molded in that way sometimes.
Right. So you were a little more open-minded to what was coming your way.
Exactly. And I was able to kind of really look and find what served me, kind of pick and choose a little bit.
Right.
And quickly just fell in love with horses, fell in love with the connection that I felt with them and working with them and everything that just had to do with horses. And so within a year after that, when I was 26, I was packing up everything I could in my Pontiac Grand Prix and driving west with the idea I was just going to find work on horse ranches. And it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
I ended up working on 3 ranches over a 2-year span, Colorado, California, and Arizona. And it was really deep, immersive type work with a lot of different types of horses and people.
Right.
Came back to Maine in 2003. It changed man. Didn't really know where I fit in with the horse world, so I put a little ad out on a local message board on the internet. These message boards
Right.
they had back in the day.
Back in the day.
Before social media. And it's just this little ad saying, if you need help with your horse, maybe I can help you. And the first session will be free to see if it's a fit. And to this day, that's the only advertising that I've ever done. That led to 4 clients, I believe. And then through them led to other clients. And within a year after that, I was doing clinics. And here I am 20 years later.
Wow. It's amazing. If you look at the book, you really get a sense that you were feeling guided in this journey. You weren't in any way certain where it was leading, but you were trying to follow that guidance. One thing in the beginning of the book that struck me, and I think you mentioned it several times in the book, is before you were a horse person, really, every time you encountered a horse, there was something about their eyes that just resonated with you, and that kept speaking to you in a way, and you kept thinking, there's something here, I'm not sure what, but, and I think anybody who loves horses knows, I mean, we think they're beautiful in so many ways, but there is something about horses' eyes that are just magical. So, there were so many quotes in the book that I would love to read. And of course, hopefully you'll go buy the book and read it yourself. But one of the things that jumped out at me, you said, to think yourself above a horse is to limit all life has to offer you. To hold them in high regard is to open every door. I loved that. And then where a horse gets to live it, when a horse gets to live its life like it was meant to, the difference in the horse will be remarkable. And I've had the privilege of doing a lot of videos with you while you're working here. And I'm struck with your ability and your desire really to meet the horse where they are at. And we always talk about they're doing the best job they can do based on their experience. Yeah. And so if you don't honor that, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And by doing that, it's so very interesting. By doing that, by honoring the horse and where they're at and recognizing that they're doing the best that they can at that moment,
right.
We sometimes realize it, sometimes we don't till later, but we're giving ourselves that same grace.
Interesting.
We're giving ourselves that same grace and recognizing that we're all doing the best we can in the moment with what we have, with the experience we've had, with how we think, with how we learn, and how we're growing.
Yeah.
And so by looking into the horse's eyes at that moment,
you
talked earlier, it pulls you into the moment. It pulls you into the moment, and you kind of forget whatever was before, and you kind of forget the worry of what's coming after. Everything slows down. Right. Everything slows down. There's a tremendous feeling of everything's going to be okay. You and the horse are kind of passing that feeling back and forth there a little bit. Yeah. And that right there ends up leading the way as far as where you're going. That feeling that everything's going to be all right, in that moment, and going from there.
So we're going to take a look. I think the most, the best part of this is going to be able to see Chris in action. And we've got a few videos to share during this hour-long show. But before we go to our first video, which we're going to do in a minute, I'm giving Molly a big cue that we're getting ready to roll tape. Roll tape, that's a TV talk. I wanted to introduce our background staff tonight. Jamie Rankin is here, and she is with Merlin. And Emma Hawks has beautiful Murphy over there, handsome Murphy, I should say. Both horses have been here for a little while at the MSSPA. They're both still kind of under evaluation and will soon be available for adoption. And we want you to keep an eye on our adoption page if you're looking for horses, really all the time if you're looking for a horse, because we have some wonderful horses here that are available. So our first video that we're going to take a look at, you may have seen on Facebook. The other two are brand new tonight, but this one you may have seen already, but it was such a great one. We wanted to share it again. And this is with Aspen. Aspen is really strikingly beautiful. She's a saddlebred Palomino and white combination. She's about 14 years old. And when she came here, she is, being ridden and handled and that sort of thing. But her big thing was her feet. And so in this video, you really wanted to try to get her more comfortable. I have to say, if you get to watch Chris work, it's amazing. You really get to see things change pretty quickly. So let's take a look at our video with Aspen, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
Working on a little bit of everything. The main thing is trying to see if she can settle, relax, pay attention, feel good in here, and then do things like lead well, stand well, and then pick up her feet well. Those are the main things we're working on. And it's the type of energy that she's not quite in control of or even aware of right now. So if I tried to tell her to slow down or stand or to not have this energy, it would just build it up more. It would make her more unsettled. So the key here at the beginning is to kind of accept this energy and flow with it and just direct it. I'd like to be leading her with a little slack in the rope, but then she quickly goes right by me. So I have to have a little touch here. And I don't want to just get caught doing circles here all the time. I want to see if I can do serpentines here a little bit. That's it. And if she hangs beside me, or even behind me, this is wonderful. Because when we first came in here, she would just run right by at a trot. And every now and then I'll just say stop. And also what I want to do is see if I can switch over to the other eye so she doesn't get so locked on to me just being on that left side, which is so common. So many times we can get caught up just walking on that left side And horses can become very secure with us on that left side, but then not when we're on the right side. So I'm over here on the right, just seeing if she can relax. The licking and the chewing, soft blinking in the eye is telling us that she's relaxing a little bit. And I'm able to give her a little bit more slack in the lead rope now. She's staying behind me. If I stop and she can stop with me, that's the beginning of everything. Not too bad. And it's very important here that I don't feel like I'm correcting her right now, because she has great intention. She's not aware of any choices she's making that aren't helpful. She thinks she's doing a great job, and it's the most important thing to kind of let her feel that way. So like if she kind of bumps into me, I'm going to kind of go, okay, that's all right. And now let's like that right there. She's just looking for help right there. All right, so now I'll spend some time working with Aspen's feet, seeing if we can help her. And as with everything so far, it's going to be if she can stand, relax, be grounded, and just help us, just for 20, 30 seconds. See if she can pick up her feet, feel comfortable with it, and just feel safe. And I'm just going to see if, first things first, she can stand and kind of help me. There's going to be a lot of movement here, possibly, maybe not. Good, she's helping me, good. And I just want to see if she can stand and let me go through the motions here. One, holding it loosely. See how she's really giving it to me? I can wiggle it around. And then I can mimic the rasp a little bit, mimic the nippers. And then she's getting worried. I'm going to say, let's put it down now. Ready, good girl? Can I set it down for you? Good job. Then can we stand for a little while? Good. And then we'll walk. If she can hold her foot up there and stand while she's in this state of really staring outside and being a little anxious about it, then when we ask her to hold her feet up in the pasture, to do her feet out there where she's most comfortable, she should be really, really comfortable. And if she's starting to just relax behind me a little bit here, that's really healthy. Very good. And then if I came to a stand here, and she stops without me having to tug that rope, that's the big deal. Good girl. And she's interacting, checking in with me. Good job. The nose nudges, I actually like. She's interacting with me and she's kind of looking for help a little bit there. Good girl. Backing up softly. Nice job. Let's switch to the other eye. We'll come around. We'll try one of your hind feet. Does that feel okay? Now, is it safe to stand so close to a horse like this? You know, not so much. We have to be aware of that. Why am I doing it then? Because if the farther away, the more she loses me. So I'm right here. I got my hand here. She could swing her head. My hand is there to stop it from bumping into me. So I'm kind of here. But if she feels me, she's aware of me while her thoughts are out there. And she's just not ready yet for me to be, you know, more strongly asking for her attention. You know, so just being here is enough. She knows where I am. I got to be safe. I got to be aware. I'm guarded in case she swings her head. And then we'll say, okay, now let's move. And she's aware of what I'm going to do. She's just saying, I can't concentrate on that, Chris, while my thoughts are out there. She's trying. Can you give me a try, good girl? So I don't want to just muscle it up. There you go. Can we meet each other halfway? Can you give it to me, good girl? There's a try. I'm going to take it. Setting it down gently. Whoo! She keeps the toe there. Ooh, sets it softly, not trying to walk off. That's kind of a home run for us right there. And then if I can start, she checks in with me, and if I can start walking before she needs to, that's as good as it gets.
There we go, and we're back. That was, I have to say, watching that was amazing because, you know, when you're a little bit further back on the horse and you're reaching for that back leg, you really don't have control with her necessarily that you have when you're standing right next to her. And in that was probably 20, 25 minutes, half an hour that you worked with her. It was pretty remarkable that you were able to have that much success in such a short time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And first of all, I just want to say how great a job everybody does here on the filming and editing of the video right there. You just put it together beautifully. And working there with Aspen and everything, I think people watching, you can see that the thoughts are swimming in her head and moving really fast, and she's thinking very constantly, and the body's then taking that shape with kind of constant movement. Horses with that kind of thought can sometimes go the other direction and be kind of paralyzed and blocked and standing and checked out and just really kind of frozen. With her, she more manifests itself in a lot of extra movement. And so the farther away I get on that lead rope, the more slack I give her. Sometimes she would just get lost like a kite in the wind. She would just end up flying around. So as we saw in that video, I had to be more closer, both in my physicality and my stance and in my presence, and kind of constantly moving myself, kind of keeping her thoughts with me, but then also my hand close to the halter as well, so she could feel me and I could kind of more direct what her movement was. And as she relaxed more and had her thoughts with me more, and we'd see the wheels turn in her brain more than her feet, then I was able to give more slack, and she could trust herself and I could trust her as well to be more free and make good choices out there. And that's really what we saw in the video, was her discovering the feeling of what we were doing from the inside out.
That's what you
making choices
Yeah.
to do these things, to meet me and to follow the guidance rather than anything we were telling her to do.
Right. So you want her to really be making their choices on her own.
It's the only way it stays for the long run.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
she has to rely on me or somebody else to tell her how to do it, then what happens when we're not there?
Right.
If she learns it from the inside out, she gets to keep it
Right.
wherever she goes.
Right. Another quote, because I was looking at your book today, and you said, "I respect the horse, and in return, I ask the horse to respect my guidance. The horse must completely respect me as a leader and follow my direction." So I want to talk with you as you approach horses here in particular, come to us with very little information. We know so little about many of them. So it really is not only from a medical standpoint and a rehabilitative standpoint, but from a training standpoint, kind of peeling back those layers, trying to figure out maybe what happened in the past medically and training wise, and then either building on that or undoing that and redoing that. So how do you go about when you're approached with a horse that you really don't know much about? How do you go about earning their respect?
So the very first thing I think about there is how the MSSPA is a wealth of knowledge and inspiration and learning for me.
Wow.
Because of that very fact right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Because the horses come in all shapes and sizes.
This is true.
And all shapes and sizes as well of past history, experience, and mental and physical experience as well that they brought along with them.
Right. Right.
And so having to understand how they're seeing the world, and including working with people, and how they're feeling in their body, and how that might be hindering them in some way, without having a written record written out for you as far as that history, has been immensely helpful to my growth as a horse person. And that is kind of how I approach it, is like, this is a gift to me. And then how may I be a gift to them? How may I serve the horses and the people here, everybody who's doing such fantastic work here? How can I serve them? And so when I'm with the horse, I feel like, okay, how can I best serve you? Well, we're going to have to be ready for farriers and veterinarians and dentists and chiropractors and people to feel safe around you, to lead you, to guide you, to be able to go on adventures, to see new things, to have people visit and meet new people, and possibly be adopted and go out to a new home.
Right.
And so I feel that it's very important for a horse to kind of almost realize that they can be open-minded, open-hearted, kind of at that 0 point of almost proactively trusting a human and the human's guidance, and that the human has nothing but best of intentions, and that the human will actually help them in anything they're asking the horse to do.
And that hasn't always been the case for them, the trust of humans, which is a lot of times why they are here. So they bring a lot of that baggage along with them. I wanted to mention, I thought of it, Aspen is not on the farm anymore, which is wonderful news. And we shot that video a while ago. She was transferred to the Massachusetts SPCA, I believe. We have relationships with both New Hampshire and Massachusetts SPCA, and when it's appropriate, they'll sometimes transfer a horse to us. We'll meet one of those horses later, and occasionally we will transfer a horse to them. And sometimes it's just as simple as giving that horse a new audience. If that horse is ready for adoption and we're not finding the adopter here in Maine, going to Massachusetts or New Hampshire, sometimes they get new eyes on them and they find a new home. And Aspen has since been adopted. So the next horse we're going to talk about is Alabar, who is here on the farm. And Alabar was kind of interesting in that he was adopted a very long time ago. I think about 8 or 9 years ago. He did leave the farm, had a lovely adoption, and then due to no fault of his own, he came back here. He's about 18 years old now. This video was shot a little while ago, and the only reason I know that is because he still has his winter coat on, and he looks a lot more handsome these days. He's much more sleek, but he's here. And the day that you were working with Alabar, you had a group in here as well, so you were kind of talking with them too, but you were trying to help Alabar, who was kind of all over the place, direct his attention and listen to you and work with you. And it was really an amazing session. So we're going to take a look at that video, and then we'll talk about that on the other side.
Here, he tries a little bit too hard to kind of find his place. And so it comes out in an excess of movement, because the movement's just a result of how they're feeling and thinking. And he's learning to kind of find his place within, his self-security within, his feeling that everything's okay from within, rather than searching for it by a lot of movement. Walking around and looking for something that feels good and having his eyes just out there in the outside world a ton. And so the first thing I'm going to do here is just move with him. This energy he has, I'm going to flow with it. I'm going to kind of join with it and just give it something to do. The key is to not see it as a negative thing in any way. You know, it's just how he feels. His movement is just a result of how he feels, and that's never wrong. So as long as I start to now guide him in a way with this movement, suddenly he looks like he's a very awesome leading horse. And he is. You know, so I take this movement and notice I'm doing a lot of turns with it. It's going to naturally get his attention. If he comes this way without me having to tug, big deal there. I'm going to get into a position for a hindquarter yield and see if I can just hold that feel and have him go with it. And now he looks like he's an incredible leading and yielding horse. Because again, we're looking for him not to be told what to do. Nobody will tell him better what to do than himself. We're looking for him to make good decisions of his own accord. This tells me he's thinking about me, paying attention, trying to go with me. I'm not telling him to slow down. He's choosing to. He just stopped. Remember, when he stands and stops, that's the big deal. See how the whole world's slowed down right now? I'm talking fast because the moment's moving fast. And I have to get going quickly there before I lose his attention. But for a horse to, or anybody to be truly with you, it's about getting their attention and them choosing to come with you. So if we walk this way, he's looking at you. Can he choose me instead? And to get his attention, I scuff my feet, maybe get into this position. It's like if I walked up in front of you and did this, see how it gets your attention and it kind of draws you in. Oh, there we go. We're in it. Wheels turning in the brain, but not the feet. Oh, we're in it. This is what we're looking for. Relaxed within. He's finding it within. I got about 5 more seconds before he moves probably. Goes to rub, but still stands. Maybe we got longer than 5 seconds. Now, if he walks, I have to react to that and get him back. The best thing I can do is move first. See, I was still like 1 second behind that play. It's natural that he'll want to relax. It's natural he'll want to stand. It's natural that he'll want to feel grounded and safe and not move if he has to. It's natural that he won't want to toss his head into me and all of that. The key is to let that happen naturally, to have the patience to guide with it and let just the natural energies of horses and humans and learning happen on their own. And if he can discover this on his own, then he gets to keep it. He gets to keep it wherever he goes. If it's me that's providing it for him, what happens when I'm not here? And when you say, Peggy, you know, like the mind of a toddler, I view horses as equals. I view them as soulfully equals, as the right to live in this world and have a good, happy, safe, healthy life. Their mind, however, as we know, their body is very different, but their mind is, in the way that it thinks and processes, is at a different capability than humans. One of the things I like to think about in the work with horses is to have no way as your way. And in that way, you can have every way as your way. You know, so it's really whatever works for Alabar and me as far as something that feels safe. You know, there's other horses here at the MSSPA that if I put them on a circle, they'd be bored. They'd be bored and they'd almost maybe resent it after having maybe a ton of training work in the past where they were circled and over lunged. So circling might not be a place we go to. But for Alabar, he's perfectly happy out there. He gets to use his energy, and it's kind of a place where we both get to take a break. So a big part of this, with the horses that come through to the MSSPA where we don't know their history, is really having an unmeasurable amount of tools, an unlimited amount of tools to find the way in that works for that specific horse. He says, I'm going to put a soft touch to his halter here, soft touch over that nose. This is where horses through the years can just have a ton of pressure put on that. A lot of the horses that come through here, they really are resistant and guarded and defensive about pressure on their nose. Oh, that was a good sigh. I'm just going to stand with him a little bit here. That's what you're looking for. I'm kind of helping him by my hand close to that halter. This is similar to some of the other horses we've filmed. I'm helping him to stand here by having a little bit more of a direct feel on the halter. I'd love to be more like this, but you see how he's going to fly away like a kite there. In the future, I'd love to have some more slack in this rope, but for right now, he needs a little help. He needs a little hand holding. But to ask him to back up here, I'm going to put a soft touch. There he goes. He's melting. He's got it. Good boy. And I'm going to ask him to pay attention to me even while people are walking through. That's some of his hard work. Wait until he finds that. He's back to balance. He just stopped himself from moving. We're in that same moment again here now. Pushing in, and I'm just going to roll with it and have him back up softly and see if he can stand. This is some of the hardest work he's done so far. And no bumping into me. That's one of his things when he's stressed, is swinging that head and everything. See if we can find our way here to where he can stand and not have to move. He's good, but he's not with me. Just a hit, nope. Good, so we gotta meet halfway. This is good stuff. He's standing, he's not coming into me. I stopped him that time earlier without him bumping into me. He's doing his best. We're finding middle ground. Let's move. And now say, good job, buddy. You did your best. Now let's move something that you feel better with. If he's going to be pushing into it, I'm not going to push harder. I'm not going to fight him on that. If we turn this to physical, that's how they learn they're stronger than us. So I'm going to put a soft touch to that nose, soft touch, and see with a little body language and energy if he can melt into it. Good boy. Great job. Right there. I just have to kind of keep the soft feel there on it. Good work. And if that's not there, if he's not soft and he's kind of pushing into it, if I just add a little energy like that, that does it. That's the key. There we go. He's got a lot of forward energy right now. And so now we can be like, all right, let's use that forward energy. It's just based on attention and being here and not being too caught up with people and the horses coming through. There we go. Starting to relax there a little bit. Still rushed in his feet. There we go. If that top line can come level, if he could even breathe out. Well done. Nice. Very good. Good work. Good work. Good work, right? Come back around. Nice.
So watching Alabar, that was another amazing session. And a lot of times when you and I are doing these videos, it's so clear to me that you're very clear about the fact that these horses are doing the best they can do in the moment, given whatever it is they bring to the table. And I think, I don't know if this is an accurate statement or not, but sometimes training can be somebody wanting to make the horse do something that they want them to do. And then you're in kind of a battle of wills, which isn't necessarily a good outcome. And watching you do what you do, it seems like you're trying to read the horse and work with what they have in that moment.
Mm.
Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Meeting them where they're at and where the moment's at,
Yeah.
right there. And letting go of any who, what, why, when, where, how, as far as the future.
Yeah.
And then working with them in a way where it's not just what you're accomplishing as far as any movements, but it's a way that will affect them in everything that they do in their life.
Mm-hmm.
If they're learning how to self-regulate, if they're learning patience, if they're learning attention, if they're learning giving their best try the first time, if they're learning a true feeling of safety in the presence of humans, if they're learning that they don't have to be literally in survival mode, but instead more curious, which leads to confidence, then they're learning something much bigger than any of the movements that we're doing. The movements are almost a byproduct. And then almost the future starts to come to you. And what the horse enjoys doing, what you enjoy doing, there might be some things that you both enjoy doing together, then some things that just I like and then the horse likes, and you'll find that the horse will be like, all right, Chris, if you want to do that, sure. Yeah, and then same for us, like, oh, you like doing this? Okay, well, let's learn to ski jor since you love doing that. I almost feel like whatever you're going to end up doing together comes to you. It's almost like the gifts return back to you after you give each other the gifts of patience and attention, and full try for each other. Future finds its way to you.
So it's less about sort of, I want this horse to be a jumper, right? Versus what is this horse willing and wanting to do with me as a team and as a partner?
Yeah. So when you create a story in your head about what the future is going to be, particularly with another living being, horse or human, then that's going to kind of make the moment hard to see sometimes as far as what's really happening, because you already have a story as far as what you want it to be. And when the moment, the horse, the feeling, the technique isn't matching up to that, that's when things like frustration, impatience tend to take form, and feeling let down, and overall energy of feeling frustrated about how things are going, and even getting, going one direction where you're getting harder on the horse or even harder on yourself, or the other direction where you're getting let down about yourself or let down about them. Wherever we're at, we just got to give the best of ourselves wherever that is,
Right.
and not ever compare that with others, and certainly not compare it to the story of who we think we should be. And then give the horse that same grace. And then in every moment, in every session with a horse can be your best session ever.
Wow.
It's not on the way to something else where once we get there, then we'll be happy, right? Whether you're sitting down out in the pasture, just sharing space, or whether you are riding and galloping across those fields, I find the greatest horsemanship comes when those feelings and what they give you are one and the same. One and the same.
Right.
Yeah.
I keep coming up with quotes from the book Land of the Horses by Chris Lombard, which you actually wrote 10 years ago. Is that right?
Yeah, it came out in 2013 first. That's the first edition. Then it came out again in 2021 through Trafalgar Square.
Okay, right. And your publisher was kind enough to share the announcement about this, conversation tonight, which was so nice. So another one that jumped out at me, beginning of chapter 7, which is I carry you, you carry me. And this was a long quote. It was too long for me to write it under my notepad, so I'm just going to read it from the book. If you have respect with the horse, it will try hard for you. If you have confidence with the horse, it will feel safe with you. If you have communication with the horse, it will follow your guidance. If you have been patient with the horse, it will be able to think. If you have been consistent with the horse, it will know what is expected of it. If you have been supportive with the horse, it will believe in itself. If you have been calm with the horse, it will not try to run away from you. If you have taken the time to prepare the horse, it will already know the answers. Did you ever write that?
It's funny because that part in the new edition that came out in 2021, that part wasn't in there.
Oh, I'm glad I have this edition.
So as you're reading it, I was like, whoa, what did I say here? I'm hearing this just like you guys.
Look.
This is 2013, Chris.
It's amazing.
What did he say?
I should be careful bringing up older books.
Oh,
okay.
no, it's great.
Well, that was I just love
Rod
that line, and
right
it to me that just watching you work, that encapsulates kind of what you do with these horses. And when you come here, you do occasionally have the opportunity to work for a long period of time with a horse, but sometimes it's 1 or 2 sessions because for whatever reason, maybe that horse has then been adopted out or whatever. So it's always different. You never know really what you're going to encounter when you come to work with a horse here, which I would imagine is kind of like, you know, the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so our the third horse that we want to talk about is a really special horse because for a number of reasons, they're all special. I shouldn't say that. We all have enormous love for all of the horses here at the farm. This horse came to us in February, I believe, and she was transferred to us from Massachusetts SPCA. We've mentioned them earlier in the show. She had an issue with her eye, and the arrangement was made that on the way here, literally, she would stop at Dover Equine Surgical and Medical, I believe it's called, in Dover, New Hampshire, and she had her eye removed. So that's a little hard to think about. And after she healed there for a little bit, she came to the farm. So really, as far as I know, and maybe you know a little bit more, the information that we got was that she was just basically unhandled and pretty feral and terrified of human beings, and which is right up Chris's alley. So we did a little video. Her name is Callie. If you've come to the farm recently, you've probably seen her. She's a complete love. She is now, and she's growing to love humans. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to take a look at a session that Chris did with Callie. All I remember is it was really cold out, so it was a month or 2 ago. Here we go.
Callie is an Arabian horse around 10 years old, and what we know about her is just really what we've found out through other rescue organizations that have helped her on her journey to get here to the MSSPA. Down in Massachusetts, where she had her original intake, they didn't know anything about her prior history, only that she was impossible to catch, did not want to be touched, felt very fearful and very ill at ease around humans in really all ways, shapes, and forms. And while at New England Equine, they noticed that she was dealing with a pretty severe affliction in her right eye. And it was monitored, and pretty soon it was deemed to be something that would have to be removed for her safety. So she just 2 months ago or so had her right eye removed. We're noticing that she's not really noticing it that much. So we're led to believe that she was blind in that eye for some time, and that she's getting along with it just fine, and she's happy and healthy, ready to move forward, you know, without it. Hi, Callie, how are you? Good to see you today. How are you doing today? Here at the MSSPA, what we've done here now that she's feeling healthy and safe, we're working on being around her, just helping her to feel comfortable, confident, and hopefully trusting. And then if she does that touch and smell, but then doesn't walk away, that's the good sign. That's the good sign. She's processing in her brain without needing to move for comfort. So the hope is that she'll walk up, interact with me, and then not need to move away for comfort, but rather have her own thinking be her comfort, processing in the brain to relax herself rather than needing to move away to get that relaxation. That's good. And then if I want to keep this, all I got to do is walk away a little bit. If I walk away, she's going to be like, oh, the more I interact, the more comfortable I'm getting. And that's not something we're training her to do. That's something she's discovering on her own. The more I interact, the more I relax. After a while, she'll say, you know, when I walk away and I'm feeling unsettled and I'm all alone out there walking around looking for comfort, that doesn't feel very good to me. But when I stand over near him and interact, that's where I feel safe and grounded. And the whole goal is that she discovers that on her own rather than anything we ever tell her. and just going to let her completely interact and do these little things like that. Those times, like letting this happen on her terms, and us having the ultimate patience for her to do this when she's ready. But then also, as I slip into now, she just walked up to me. I'd like to also be able to walk up to her. And if she can handle this as I walk up and touch her and pat her on the neck, that's the beginning of everything that we wish to have. And then I'm going to step away and let that be a moment that's in the books of good memories. And again, this is something we couldn't do. We couldn't halter her a month and a half ago. With Callie being so hesitant and really downright distrusting of all human contact, what we're working on here in the very beginning is just having her feel comfortable while in the presence of humans. She understands the choices she has and how they feel towards her. Good, so hand coming up, wanting something. This is something a month ago that would cause her to run away, just a hand coming up. There's kind of the old thoughts, and she steps into that hand, touches it, rub her face and head, do that, and then I might take it away right there. Good job. And just let her feel comfortable, and she can't help but, eating in my presence, can't help but develop some really good thoughts, really good connections as far as the presence of humans. And then just having her becoming open-minded to the idea of working with us, being approached by us, being haltered, being led, and just initial stages of touch, and helping her to not just get along with that, but to become something that she enjoys and even seeks and is looking forward to. And that will really open the gates to this place where she'll allow us to help her in the ways that we want to, as far as hoof care, vet care, dental care, just those different sort of categories that we want the horse to feel really safe in, so that we can provide the care that we want to. And then further along from that, the rehabilitation we want to in the training. We feel Callie has never even begun to trust a human in her life. Humans have been something that she's been anywhere from hesitant around to completely afraid of. And so that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of quality time. It takes a lot of just being around her, sharing presence, letting her open up in her own pace, at her own will, to the point where she becomes open-hearted and beginning to trust that we can do things like touch, halter, pick up feet, lead her, and have her feel like that the fears that she had, she can let go of. She can let go of them and find that there's a different path than everything else, where not only does she not have to be afraid of us, that she can actually feel comfortable around us, even on the path to complete trust with us. There's a term that I love using. I say filling in. And what filling in means to me is when I might walk up to her with nothing but the purest of intentions, but Callie would be seeing something different based on her many years of experience with humans leading up to this. However rushed it was, however chaotic it was, however forced it might have been in her life. So she's going to have, what we'd call triggers, braces, trauma, based on her past experience. So it's very important for us to recognize that even though we're coming up with the softest and slowest and most basic of intentions, the best of intentions, that she might not see it that way. And so we're going to have a lot of patience and go at her speed to where she can recognize what's real in the moment, and that feeling that we're there to just share space, say hi, and to help her. So our hopes for Callie is first and foremost that she just becomes open-minded and open-hearted to human contact. Because once that door opens here, there's so many people here that just want to give her love. And so once that door swings open, it can really be like a waterfall, but again, it's going to have to be at her pace. That's how trust works. And beyond that, it's not about training. It's about her having a forward intention, really seeking the interaction with humans, to the point where she'll learn to be confident on her own. She'll learn to have patience. She'll learn to have self-control. She'll learn to feel fear, but to be able to ground herself and self-relax and self-soothe, so that these doors can open more on their own a little bit, and she can see what's on the other side of them. So in that sense, she would be learning from the inside out. That's the term that I love using there, is she'd be learning from the inside out by her own choice, by her own discovery, and in that way she gets to keep it. If it's really organically grown from the inside out as far as her experience, she'll be able to keep this trust for humans beyond us here at the MSSPA, and from there, sky's the limit as far as where she could go and who she could meet and the homes that she could be a part of. Good girl. Well done. Well done. Way to stand, way to be open, way to think, way to have self-control, way to see what's really here in the moment, way to let go of the past and feel what's really right here in the moment. Good girl. Thank you for that.
She is a very special horse.
Yeah.
You were here at the very beginning, and everyone just has an eye on Callie out there, and she's by herself in the paddock because we have to be sure we can really comfortably halter her and capture her before we put her in with other horses, and we're not quite there yet. So a lot of folks that visit the farm say, why is she by herself? She can see other horses, but she's not in yet with a buddy or two. When she got here, I'll never forget that. And I've only been here about 2 years, so I've seen a fair amount of horses come in, and she was just literally shaking and her entire being. She was so terrified, so afraid, and it was so heartbreaking to see that. And here she's had this recent surgery, which is
Marlon in the background, he's wearing a tarp.
challenging as well. I don't know, we're hearing some audio from somewhere. Anyway, how in with your work, how far has she come?
It's been electric. It's been electric. There's nothing like it. It's fair. And what I mean by that is the more time something takes, the more dedication something takes, the more deeper you have to dig for it, the more you have to really look after every moment and really spend a lot of time with a horse is equal to the give back when the connection starts to happen. Because it's downright electric. I have a very specific moment in my mind I keep seeing right now when you see a horse trust you for like the first time. It looks like they're jumping off a cliff, but they believe they're going to be okay. In the horse's eyes, you just see like, okay, I'm going to believe I'm going to be all right. Here comes the halter, and I'm going to drop my nose into it. You could look at a 20-year-old horse and they'll look like a little foal. They'll look like a little foal trusting for the first time.
They're really going against so much of what they've learned.
So much self-preservation instinct based on the past. And so when they have one of those moments right there, it's electric. Like that first time putting the halter on her was electric. First time leading her was electric. All these different moments.
Her milestones are pretty enormous because for weeks she sort of stood at the back of the paddock and really didn't want to have a whole lot to do with anybody.
Yeah.
So watching you two work together, and our staff has worked with her as well, has really been just remarkable. And I know that your schedule has gotten busier and you haven't spent as much time with her as you were a month or two ago, but we've had a lot of visitors to the farm, and just yesterday, I think we had a group of kiddos, and she was pressed right up against the fence and they were all patting her, and everyone was just, I mean, it sounds like nothing, and it's enormous. It's huge. It was such a big deal.
Yeah, Tina sent me a picture of that.
Oh, good.
And so I could see on the expression on her face after getting to know the horse so well by spending all this time with them.
Yeah.
I could see the expression on her face was just one of like joy, like triumph. She's basking in her confidence.
Yeah.
And experiencing the idea of, oh, I don't have to do these things with humans so that I can then, get to go spend time away from them and be in my safe place. I can actually be with humans and be in my safe place and enjoy it.
You can see that, I mean, it's visible on her. She's just, and I think she's as surprised as anybody that, oh, this isn't so bad after all. This is a different experience than what she's known. So it has been really incredible to watch that happening. What do you you know, based on the time that you've spent with her, what do you think the possibilities are for Callie?
Ah, wide open. You know, that any story I've ever created in my mind, any like probably nots or nevers or always, I've always seen moments where I'm like, well, okay, I guess anything's possible.
Mm.
Anything's possible. And so that kind of trust that's formed when she reminds me a lot of other horses that I've worked with. And I'll speak about Rocky here, my horse I knew for 21 years, my horse Rocky. And when I met him as a foal, he was just as wild, scared, and defensive. The trust that was created between us allowed us to create the idea that where we can we go? Anything's possible. Anything's possible. And so she's in the middle of learning that type of interaction, that type of trust, that type of, you know, bonding with a human, and imagine that feeling. Imagine that feeling with a horse where no matter what, how outlandish or crazy or whatever's going on around them and everything else, but to trust that it's okay, but to actually trust that it's okay and that the human will take care of it.
Yeah.
The human can help in that case.
And she's learning that.
Exactly.
And I mean, that's going to take learning it over and over and over again, but she's definitely learning that. And we have absolutely seen that. And I know that you recently lost your beloved Rocky, but the nice part of that story, or the full circle part of that story, is you now have an MSSPA horse as well in your backyard.
Yeah.
Tell us about Callie.
Callie. I could talk forever about Callie. Well, first of all, that she came through here, and I met her when she first came, and then by the time she came to the farm, through the care of people here, especially for Jamie, Jamie, who spent a lot of time with her and kind of led the way with her. She was a different horse, you know, in the 3 or 4 months when I saw her again after that. And I just felt something, whatever that spark is, you know, when you know. And I still took some time with it. You know, the mind had to do its due diligence and say, well, take some time, don't just let the heart run. But every time I saw her, I knew. And for that last month of thinking about it, and she's a horse that's similar to a Callie and a Rocky, a young Rocky, and other horses. And that the way I was just kind of thinking about it is she's still trying to find her home within, that home within herself. That self-security, self-confidence, that everything's going to be okay. So I kind of view it as like 3 homes. Let her feel the home within me, and let her hopefully find security from that. Let me fill in as much as I can for the insecurities and fears that a horse might have, and let them find their own home within. And then we can, along that way, create that 3rd home between us.
Right.
That 3rd home when we're together. An author, Tom McGuane, calls it that 3rd greater thing, when a horse and a human come together and connect and unite as one. He says the moment you feel it once, you'll spend the rest of your life chasing it again. And that home within, between you, that 3rd greater thing, that'll take care of you. Yeah. It'll really kind of take care of you. And when things get tough, when things get challenging, you'll find that home between you, it'll just strengthen that. It'll just strengthen that. The challenges won't separate you. They'll actually pull you in tighter together. And so with these horses, that it's challenging right from the start.
Sure, right.
If you just have patience with that and end up spending just a lot of time with them and just really get back to that 0 point where the past and the future aren't there, and it's just in the moment, and let it build from there, then that becomes a part of you. That becomes a part of you. That relationship, that travels with you forever. All those good times, all those electric moments, that travels with you, and it'll be something you can rely on in the future when things get tough.
Well, that's a great place for us to start wrapping up. I'm going to tell you something funny. We've practiced this a lot today in terms of the technical end of things. And one thing we didn't practice, Molly, she can hear me, is I don't know who's going to end the show when we end it. Molly's going to end the show. Okay, so we got that cleared up. Thank you for bearing with us. Before we close, I have a couple of things I want to say. First of all, I want to say thank you to my pals out here, Jamie Rankin, who's bringing Merlin over to say goodnight, because these guys are like, why are we up past our bedtime? Merlin, you were such a rock star. Look at you. Look at those beautiful eyes. Isn't he gorgeous? Such a good boy.
Hey, Merlin.
Coming over to say hi to Chris. And here comes Murphy with Emma. You guys, thank you so much for being our our backup singers tonight. I guess that's what we could call it. You got, hi, you're a little camera shy. Hi, bud. So thank you all for doing that. Chris, thank you especially for sharing your time with us and certainly your experience with all the horses, because we are the better for it and the horses are so lucky to have you around, and it's a pleasure to watch you work because I learn something every single time. So I hope that, excuse me, you've enjoyed our hour conversation with Chris. Please make sure, if you don't already follow us on social media, you can follow Chris at Chris Lombard Horsemanship, both on Facebook and Instagram. And the MSSPA is actually Maine Horse Rescue on both Facebook and Instagram. We'd love for you to follow along. We post videos all the time, and we're going to put up the videos that were on the show tonight on some posts in the coming days, and we'll also share the link for the entire hour. So with that, I think we're going to say goodnight. And one of the difficult parts of Zoom is it's not a gentle way to say goodnight and fade to black. It just goes like that. So that's what we're going to do. Thank you again for your time. This was great. I had a great time talking with you.
I loved doing this, and you guys here at the MSSPA just do such wonderful things. I'm honored to be a part of it. You succeed so strongly in the big four to me, and what is that is the care of horses, the great care. The horses that come here get literally everything that they could ever need. And then the rehabilitation of the horses, both physically and mentally, and then the adoption of the horses moving on to homes that fit really well for them, and then the community outreach. So I'm just honored to be a part of that.
Well, thank you so much. That's so lovely of you to say, and we love having you here. So it's mutual. With that, we're going to say goodnight, and we're going to cut off pretty quickly. So don't be alarmed. But thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for all your support of the MSSPA. We are so blessed with incredible supporters and donors. So have a great evening, and we will see you soon.